Hello everyone, my name is Simona and today I will speak about the questions of life. Every one of us during the lifetime we put ourselves questions. Questions at which we find sometimes answers or we don't find answers. And we look outside all the time for the answers to these questions, but the real answers that we are looking for always find themselves inside. I'm going to speak about these questions from which we know and we have the answer inside. The questions that come from inside, like what do I want? Like who am I? What can I do? What is my service or my purpose in this lifetime? Or what is reality? What is consciousness? These are real questions which at the moment in time we put ourselves and we don't find the answer outside. When I start to put the questions to myself a few years ago, I realized that as so many people were outside giving an answer to this question, so many answers on so many perspectives of these questions were. Because these are private questions and the answer to these questions belongs to the level of consciousness in which the people find themselves. When we start to ask questions which we only can find the answer in ourselves, we start to think. We start to think in other ways than we were used to think. We start to change the perspectives from outside to inside. We start to give answers from this what we are feeling inside, and not from that what we are seeing outside. When we put ourselves the questions of life, we start to open ourselves to a new level of consciousness. That means that we start to become aware about our inner world, about our emotions, our thoughts, our way of doing the things, about our everyday doing, everyday reality. And also we start to be aware that we do things for others or for ourselves, more for others or more for ourselves. We start to be conscious about or aware about how we are working on inside, on a physical level, psychical level, emotional level, and spiritual level. The questions of life are made for us to start thinking for ourselves, to change the perspectives from outside to inside. It's an inner reflection, a process of inner reflection when we start to ask ourselves these questions, the questions of life, like where do we come from, where are we, what are we, what is reality, what is consciousness, what is focus and how can we focus, what is my service, what is my purpose, what do I want, what can I learn from my life experience, what brought to me my life experience, how can I use my life experience, and so on and so on. Then comes when we start to ask ourselves these questions, we start to think deeper, we start to change the perspective from outside to inside, and we realize there are more deeper questions. As long as we put ourselves these questions, we will find on the way that there will be deeper and deeper and deeper questions, and the answers will be personal and personal and personal, because the life and the reality is made from individuals by their own thoughts, by their own experiences. And sometimes when the consciousness level is changed, then the people becomes aware as a collective consciousness, and then the reality which expresses itself in everyday life will be a collective reality. But to start to be aware about your own consciousness and the collective consciousness and your own reality and the collective reality, you first have to go inside and to start asking yourself the questions of life. And truly and sincere, give yourself answers, and doesn't matter how somebody else would answer them these questions, because these are personal questions and they are influenced by our level of consciousness. To understand these things, we have to pay attention to ourselves. We have to pay attention to our emotional patterns. We have to pay attention to our thinking patterns, to our doing patterns, and everyday speaking patterns. When we start to be aware of ourselves and we start to be responsible for ourselves, then our level of consciousness rise, and slowly we become aware about the collective consciousness also. And when we want, we can work together as one. But for this level of consciousness, we have to first start to be honest with ourselves and to know the level of consciousness in which we are as individual. Thank you for listening to me. And if you liked the video, please share it. And thank you.